And we're live. We're about to go and meet Bill Redelmeier at Southbrook Vineyards. So stay tuned and grab some Canadian wine to enjoy. Cheers.
See you shortly. Woohoo!
Cheers, Canadian wine lovers.
Canadian wine lovers, Carl's Wine Club members, everyone across the country, welcome, welcome. It's Wine Wednesday. We have an amazing week to come to talk about. There's so much going on. It's harvest across North America. Everything is going crazy. We have today a very, very special guest, someone that we spent a good amount of time in Ontario last time we were there, Bill Redelmeier, owner at Southbrook Vineyards. So we're going to have a lot of fun talking with Bill. I have 3 wines in front of me that we're going to do our weekly blind tasting. Absolutely. Mira's taking me for a ride once again. Oh my God, I got my nose in there. I'm like, what? Okay, I have to say, this week, you're going blends because there's nothing coming out like straightforward to me. Anyway, so she's taking me for a ride. It's going to be interesting, but we want to talk about the Pen Canadian 3.0. We want to talk about, obviously, Southbrook Vineyard, the first Canadian organic biodynamic.
Certified.
Yeah, like what? Now it feels like a while ago, man. Times flies by. It's probably 20 years ago already. So yeah,
almost. I think I'm so excited because I think Bill and his family have been involved with winemaking in Niagara for a very, very long time, and I think he's going to have some interesting stories for us. So I'm excited for that.
And I mean, we have a lineup of 10 wines of Southbrook Vineyard. Sorry.
11 if you count this one, which was super unique. This one that we tasted.
I know, and I can't wait to pick Bill's brain. There's an incredible story behind that wine as well, right?
And it's interesting. I think it's the only fruit wine that they carry, and it's the only fruit wine that I think we've ever featured in Carl's Wine Club. And it's a bonus.
Yeah, featured. Yeah, you're right. I think that's the very first one ever. But oh my God, I had that. Yeah, that was really cool tasting it the other night. I mean, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, how are you doing, Mira, today?
Pretty good. How are you, Carl Boucher?
Oh, I'm doing great. I have that darn stupid fruit fly like diving into my glass already.
But fruit flies. There's some kind of flus going around still. I have some things bothering my eyes. That's why I'm looking at you like this. But it's all
well, you know what? Couple sip and you should be all good. But you have to be careful today because you're driving after that. So we'll have to pace.
Get my spit cup.
Yeah. So we'll have to pace to keep you on track tonight. Okay, there's no partying. But you know what? A 6-bottle discovery pack for $158.70, including tax and shipping. How freaking cool is that? All wines 90 plus or higher. And there was so much to choose from with Southbrook. I don't know how many SKUs Bill has under his belt, but there was so many. I can pick and choose between vintages and single vineyard. But the Triumph line had such an interesting display of unique flavors, but also purity of flavor of Niagara Peninsula, but also some single vineyard, like the Cap Franc Laundry Vineyard. We'll have to talk about this wine because that Cap Franc absolutely blew my socks off. And we'll definitely talk about the Poetry, which is then one of the greatest red blend, left bank Bordeaux inspired wine from Niagara. And yeah, I mean, this one absolutely ring the bell when it in terms of high score. So yeah, we'll have a full on scale of what to talk about in terms of wine with Bill. But Mira, what do you want to start to? What do you want to start with tonight?
Well, I want you to go to glass number 1, and we'll do a rapid fire blind tasting on Carl. Let's say on what, Carl? 1 or 2 of these glasses, and then we'll do the rest.
Well, let's start with 2 quickly. 1 and 2.
Okay. I got to say, Jeanette and Danny are on. Hey, you guys. And there's something pretty cool happening next Saturday night. And I have news for you, Carl Boucher, because Carl has to go help a neighbor move. And it happens to be passing through right where some members are going to be meeting next Saturday night to open a vertical of Nota Bene, going back to quite a few years. And they have been so kind enough as to extend an invite to Carl. So on his way back from helping our neighbor, he's going to get to taste these Nota Benes and report back. So thanks so much, Jeanette and Danny, for that. That's going to be awesome. And the news for you, Carl, is that they found a trailer to take the extra car back. So I think you're okay to make a stop.
Did they? Okay, so that's been confirmed?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Anyway, what do you think is in your
but
first
before we go and talk about what's in my glass, I want to tell everyone how freaking crazy is that. Danny and Jeanette live on the lower mainland in British Columbia, in between the Coquihalla, the mountain, and Vancouver. They were the first one to buy their all-in package for the Pan-Canadian Masterclass was going to be held in Ontario in 2025. How cool is that? Our people from BC are already buying their ticket to be in Niagara with us for the Pan-Canadian 3.0, which is going to be held at Staff on June 21st. All in pass, they went like that's crazy. I'm so excited.
Very, very cool. I know there's quite a few people buying that VIP Unlimited pass the next 2 weeks till October 25th. You can get
there's big discount. There's big discount to be to put get big money to put in your pocket if you get it in the next couple of weeks. So
yeah, and it's a great time to book because this is the time that accommodations are also most plentiful as well. Like we're already finding some of the places we were looking at have been booked for that weekend. I'm not saying it's just because of us, but it's starting to get booked that weekend. But it's a great weekend to go to Wine Country, June 21st, 22nd. And it's still shoulder season. So you can get some great places to stay without breaking the bank into the summer season.
Let's see if we can reel Bill into our 3.5-day umbrella of event and see if Southbrook will be part of that celebration this year.
In some way, that would be pretty cool. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get blind taste here going because I have no freaking clue what you put in my glass. Some week it feels like it's a little easier. I get my nose in the glass and I'm like, okay, this is Riesling, this is Cap Franc, and boom, boom, boom. We just go ahead. But this week, I'm a little stunned right now. I'm just, yeah. So I have 1 and 2. The rosé on number 1. I mean.
Okay, so you think rosé for number 1 of what?
I mean, rosé. This is pretty clear that it's a rosé. Or
I'm throwing you for a loop. I mean, sure, color-wise.
So that's what skin contact Pinot Gris, maybe. Okay.
So 1 point for you, definitely Pinot Gris, but there's something pretty crazy about this Pinot Gris. So like,
okay,
yeah.
So I got the Pinot Gris. I got the skin contact on the palate. This is really good. I like that. This is really, it's full body. There's a little bit of dry fruit in there. Sorry, the fruit fly is driving me up so terrible.
Fruit flies.
Yeah. So yeah, Pinot Gris. Skin contact Pinot Gris. That's what I got for the first one. So that's what I can tell you for that.
And
And
what's your
well,
appreciation of it? What do
my
you think?
appreciation of it, it is probably, if it's under the $25 price point, which is not really, which is a value proposition, I would say it would be right on the verge of a 90 points. I like that. I think it's missing the obvious grape varietal typicity. I mean, yeah, it's good. It's not outstanding. I appreciate that. I like the skin contact, chewiness. I like the mouthfeel, and hopefully I don't break the bank and it's not more than $27.
All right. Well, you're pretty bang on. So you want to know?
Absolutely. That's what we're
So
here, right?
What threw you for a loop with that is this Pinot Grigio from 2021 has a Passimento in it.
Huh.
Can you guess which
Okay.
winery now?
Well,
This
now
is
you're telling me that you're having a bottle of culinary behind you, right?
That's
Oh,
right.
so Pinot Grigio. I mean, I like that. I like that. It's fun. It's different. It's
And you're
not.
bang on with the price. It's $23.95 including tax. So, hey,
I'm at 90 points at that price. Absolutely. The Appassimento doesn't bring a candy sweetness. It just brings mid palate. It brings weight on the mid palate, but it's very well managed. Yeah, this is a great job right there. Really, really, really good job. If it was $30, that's what I would have been. That's why I set my price at 27. Yeah, I like that.
24. So, hey, bang on.
24 all in, we're at a $20 wine. I mean, yeah, please bring it on. Absolutely.
We have two reds, okay, that we'll chat about after you chat with Bill.
Perfect. Let's bring Bill on, and after that, we'll taste the two reds, okay?
Yes. So we were at Southbrook Vineyards, quite an impressive place, actually. There's this huge, I'll get some pictures of us there in a second, or what. We didn't take as many pictures as we should.
I know, this is crazy. So that's mean that we had such a good time talking to Bill that we didn't take any pictures, barely no pictures.
I'll show you what I did take pictures of. I've shown you guys already. Like Bill has this invention on the patios so that the glasses don't tip over. I took lots of pictures of that because
I know. Yeah, it doesn't tell us where we're in. Yeah, I know.
But let's bring Bill on. Bill is a proprietor at Southbrook, and we're featuring Southbrook this week, so can't wait to meet. Hey, Bill, nice to meet you. Nice to see you.
Thank you, guys. And as a Canadian winery, thank you for everything that you're doing to promote Canadian wine. You're one of the strongest promoters. You recognized early what a great job we can do in Canada making wine, from Nova Scotia to British Columbia, and of course in between as well. So thank you for what you do.
And Bill, thanks for being here. Sorry for making you wait, but thanks for being here. And first, we want to say thanks for the amazing welcome reception that we had with you in August this year. It was fantastic to meet with you.
But I like to think that that's the way we greet everybody, because it's all about creating that relationship with the customers so that they walk away going, holy jumping, I had a great time there. And then the best result is when they go to their friends and say, you got to go to Southbrook. You got to taste the wines. You're going to have a wonderful time. And too many times, Canadians, I was just going to say, too many times Canadians think, like, to get a great experience in wine country, I got to go to California, or I've got to go to Europe. You don't. We do great wine all across the country.
You're so right. And if you want to get ignored, and being paying the big price and come back very disappointed, that's where you go to Napa Valley. Because it seems to me every time I go there, I come back disappointed because they don't pay attention to you.
And people complain here sometimes of, oh, now there's a $10 tasting fee. And we went to Napa and we're like, oh my God, there's an $80 tasting fee and it's US. So,
It's usually more than 80. It's
yeah.
US and it's plus tax.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Simone is just saying that hospitality is exactly what he experienced, because it sounds like you guys met last weekend at the winery. He was with his father-in-law and enjoying a tasting. We had great conversation about nomenclature for natural and organic wine. So
I remember the conversation, because it's always difficult, because a lot of the natural wine people say, well, if you define it, then it can't be natural, which kind of is an oxymoron, but anyway.
Yeah. Okay, Bill, let's backtrack to 1991, I believe, right? So I would love our listener here from across the country. We have people from Victoria, from Nanaimo, from the prairies, all the way to Nova Scotia. So I know that when you're driving in Niagara on the lake and you drive by that long purple wall, it caught your attention. And because for so many times we drove by, I'm like, at some point I want to stop here. And but I would love people to know a little bit about the story behind Southbrook, your story, how you started the winery, and what's your background.
So I grew up on a dairy farm north of Toronto. It was a big dairy farm. And in 1983, my father and uncle decided the best time to separate the farm between the families was when it was my father and my uncle together, as opposed to cousins and nephews and all this other stuff. So our side of the family started Southbrook in 1983, literally with a picnic table on the side of the road. This week's email, I don't know if you saw it, but was a picture of my wife Marilyn and I with our prize-winning 205-pound pumpkin in October of 1984, and we were so proud. The reason that I went back to look at it is the winning pumpkin in the same fair this weekend was something like 1,600 pounds. So things have come along. In 1981, I loved wine. A friend of mine is a winery, an agent, and we were talking about looking for new products to sell. And he said, well, why don't you make wine? So we taught ourselves how to make wine. But then we were using purchased in grapes, and we did really well. Derek Barnett, who I think you know, was our first winemaker, did a wonderful job. But in 2003-04, we decided if we wanted to take the wine business seriously, we needed to be here. I really wanted to convert to organics, partly for the health benefits of not so much for the people that are consuming it, more importantly, the people that are running the farm, either myself or my workers. But the other thing was that I'd always thought that I liked organic wines, that I thought they might be better than conventional. And I knew that biodynamic wines were. And so that's why we went down the rabbit hole of organics and biodynamics, purchased this property in 2005. We were trying to figure out what to do with the winery. And up in Richmond Hill, we were making wine in 125-year-old barns. So if we wanted to be rustic to match what we'd done in Richmond Hill, it was going to have to be fake rustic. And I didn't want to do that. So we decided to go ultra modern, LEED gold, leadership in energy efficient design. Gold is, at the time, was the highest level you could get. Now you can get platinum, but that didn't exist when we got it. Organics, biodynamics, all of the things that we're doing to try and show that you can make wonderful wine and do it in an environmentally friendly manner.
So from organic to biodynamic, was it all together at the same time, the idea, or you started organic and you decided that biodynamic was the next step, or it was all in package?
No, so the normal way to do it is you get certified organic, you do it for a few years, you get certified organic, you do that for a few years, and then you say, I want to go the next step. That wasn't what we did. We applied, we started right from the beginning doing both. And so I think uniquely in the wine business, certainly in Canada, because there's only a few others. We got our organic certification in early September of 2008. By the end of September 2008, we had gotten our biodynamic certification as well. They were always done in parallel.
Wow.
It was always intended to take the next step and go biodynamic.
And a quick question: for people who are not in the insiders? Oh, look at that! On the wine, what is the biggest difference between organic and biodynamic? We see this little sheep here. I'm thinking that there's a lot to do with the biodynamic aspect of it.
So biodynamics really is you're trying to treat the farm as a whole living entity. So and every time I go to a biodynamic vineyard, I find somebody and I go, how do you give me a 30-second, or how do you give a 30-second explanation of biodynamics? And they always laugh and go, I was going to ask you the same thing. It's a whole big canon of rules, but basically the easiest way: we plant, we harvest, we make wine using phases of the moon. Most of the sprays that we're using in the vineyard are herbal tea rather than chemicals. And there has to be an animal component on the vineyard. With organics, you can buy manure. With biodynamics, you should be making that manure on the same farm. So we loan half of the farm to, it's not a vineyard, a local farmer who raises cattle and sheep, and we get to buy his manure. But because we're buying it, or we're working with the farmer, we can get it composted as long as we want. We can work it the way we want. We can make sure that there are, we can put the preparations, the herbs into the manure before we get it. So it's fermented just like wine is. It's why we know our body needs fermented products, whether it's kimchi or pickles or cheese or wine. That complexity, the microorganisms that come with fermentation are good for us, and it's exactly the same thing with the vineyard.
So, okay, now that's the farm component. How many acres do you guys have total, including the farm and the winery?
Total is 150 acres. Planted, we're running around 50 or 55 acres.
Planted.
So just over a third of the land is farmed. There's a forest component of about 12 or 14 acres, which again brings life into the area. We want to have enough space that we can have a solar array that replaces about 85% of our net annual electrical use. You know, it's not just a modern, intense farm, because it's not the way we can make the best wine. We can maybe get a higher yield if we get rid of all the weeds and cultivation and herbicides and everything else like that. I don't think it makes us good wine.
So now, at the beginning, was there not a doubt, but was there a choice between the Niagara escarpment versus Niagara on the lake, or you had your eye on that piece of land all the way?
So to me, you know, we all love Pinot Noir and Gamay. I do too. But I realize that if I look in my cellar, I have 2 or 3 cases of red Burgundy, mostly people have given to me. And I'm not sure I've got quite as much now, but I used to have roughly 100 cases of Bordeaux. That's what I love. And so Niagara on the Lake has more extreme temperatures, but we can do things like Cabernet Sauvignon, Petit Verdot, and get them to ripen almost every year. And, you know, I'm not a fan of green Cabernet Sauvignon or green Cabernet Franc. I'd like it nice and ripe. Thank you very much. And we can do that. The sort of most extreme temperatures in Niagara, 4 Mile Creek, it kind of is very close to Stone Road, which is the main road into Niagara on the Lake. And that's the extreme temperatures. That's where we think we can get the best Bordeaux reds.
Mira, would you like to pull the picture back with the long purple wall? Because there's some friends here that we travel with, and when they talk about the Southbrook winery, they mentioned the long purple wall, and I mean, Can we have a little bit of the background of the why of the design of that?
Absolutely.
Because which is very, very unique.
The architect's name was Jack Diamond, principal of Diamond and Schmidt, but he's passed away a couple of years ago. He was an amazing architect and had amazing vision. And one of the things that I said to him, because I've spent a fair bit of time going and visiting wineries in Napa or Europe, more usually Napa and Sonoma. And you can get to a beautiful, beautiful winery. And there are some of them that are absolutely gorgeous. And my experience is that all the time you're there, all you can hear is the pounding of Highway 29, the trucks and traffic going by. So we wanted to be way away from the road. We wanted to be a couple of 100 meters back. And the building we were building, we separated very intentionally the production facility and the hospitality side. In the old days, we were back in old barns and they were wonderful, but my hospitality manager would go to our winemaker and say, this is wonderful. We've got a big function on this evening. Can we tidy the place up a bit? And the winemaker goes, no, to hell with that. I've got 20 tons of Chardonnay coming in today. So the idea is keep everybody separate and then they keep happy with each other. So the hospitality is a very light building. It's not very high. The roof floats in space. You can't actually see any supports. You can see the little bit of glass across the top of the wall. If you stand over at the production facility, you can actually watch clouds go by underneath the roof. Nothing touches the ceiling or the roof under the glass. But if it just sat in the middle of the field, nobody would notice it. The wall, once you get past our pizza oven, which is an outdoor pizza oven, it's mostly to draw people's eyes back. And the idea, one of the conceits of the building is that the production, hospitality place looks not at the road straight as close as it can get. It looks at the road, you see it square on when you first see the winery, when you're arriving. In other words, it's angled to the road. It's a solid wall, one small entrance. It's supposed to make you go, what's on the other side of that wall? And what I love is when you come to 10 or 15 feet of the door, you look at the door, which is glass, and you realize the whole building is transparent. You look right through the building and back out into the winery. And I had a long discussion with Jack one time as we were designing the building, and I had an idea for a beautiful piece of art just inside the door. And he looked at me and he went, Bill, it's a window. And he's correct. It's an exciting, because the whole wall is completely opaque. And that's the only opaque part of the building. When you come into the building itself, everything else is glass. And that was an important part of LEED. You get a point for having 75% what's called natural daylight. In other words, you're looking out into the vineyard. And we got a bonus point because every space in the winery, including offices and interior offices, every space except the bathrooms look into the vineyard. And we were trying to figure out how we could get the bathrooms looking into the vineyard. We couldn't quite make that work. But it's very particular that everywhere you sit, you can see behind me, for instance, there's a wall, but the wall is glass and made up of barrels. So you can stand on the other side and you could see what I'm doing right now. It makes it all one big part of the building. And I love the design. It's
really neat.
We sure did love it too. Absolutely. Mira, do you have a question for Bill before we start to line up a wine?
Yeah, talk about the wines. So speaking of fun things, this is the only winery I've ever seen this at. And when I asked, your staff members said that, that was your invention, Bill. So I guess it's windy at Southbrook.
So after COVID, the first day we opened up outside. So in 2020, it was a Sunday afternoon. And we were finally able to reopen. We were seating people outside, and often at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the wind will come up, and all of a sudden, glasses started to fly.
Oh, no.
I'm a farmer, so I'm looking for simple solutions. And I've actually shown the idea to a bunch of other wineries, because it's a piece of 2x2 with a couple of bolts holding it. And all you do is, when the wind comes up, you just slide the foot of the glass underneath, and it's perfectly safe.
It's awesome. I know that Mira loved that one. She loved that idea. That's for sure. She's been showing it to all of our winery friends here in the
Bill
Okanagan.
Redelmeier invented. Yeah, that's fantastic. I love it. All about these simple innovations, right?
So, but to be honest, it's exactly the same thing as the way we have to solve sustainability issues. We don't want to spend a whole bunch of money to fix a problem some way down. It's way better just to prevent the problem cheap. Anyway,
Yeah.
now
Yeah,
I'll
no
get off
worries.
my soapbox.
I see where you're
We
going.
need some glasses of wine.
I sure do, because we have this week, well, the 6-bottle Discovery Pack at an incredible price point, $158.70 for 6 bottles of organic biodynamic. And when I taste them, I call them premium.
Organic. And I just want to say something about Triumph. So that and I think most of the Discovery Pack, if not all of it, is Triumph.
Yep.
So we're focused on the estate wines and the single vineyard wines. That's what we're really focused on. But the Triumph wines allow us to make that. So what we do is, if we're aiming to make an estate wine, but if it's a little bit lighter, it's not quite as intense, it's still really good wine, because you've got to remember, if a wine doesn't taste good, who cares if it's organic? That's the first.
That is so true.
So Triumph, and the root of the word triumph is Latin triumphus, which is a song of praise to Bacchus. It is our wines that we can distribute, whether it's to the LCBO, whether it's, they're affordable, they're reasonable, they're all priced between $20 and $30. It's a great introduction. And then we start to create that relationship, and then people, they'll buy 6 Triumphs and an estate, and then they start coming back for more and more of the estate wines. But they all have to be delicious. They all have to be, not something that somebody goes, ooh, I don't like Southbrook, and never comes back.
And we're starting. We have I believe that the white at 1975. It's the first time that you guys have that on the lineup. It's a blend of Vidal, Riesling, and Chardonnay. And for 1975, what an introduction to a brand! If you don't know it, super affordable, floral, and very expressive.
So to me, Vidal, if it's not made as a cheap wine, but made as a good wine, is beautiful. I smell Vidal, and whether it's ice wine, whether it's orange wine, whether it's a table wine, to me, I smell tropical fruit cocktail. And the canned stuff we grew up as kids and we all loved. And in fact, if you smell good Vidal really carefully, you can smell that one maraschino cherry they put in each can, right? There's just almost a touch of maraschino, but it's tropical fruit, it's mango, it's all sorts of wonderful things. And have to remember, and I'm going to go slightly out of order here. I was in England doing a show at the London Wine Trade Fair back 20 years ago. And I had 3 ice wines with me. I had Gewürztraminer, I had Riesling, and I had Vidal. And the Gewürztraminer, I'm not sure, we made it one year, 98. I'm not sure it's the best grape for ice wine. It loses its acidity a little too much. And then I got people to try it, and then I got them to vote on what they liked best. And maybe 5% liked the Gewürztraminer, and about 60% liked the Vidal, maybe 70%, and then the rest, like the Riesling, and then the rest like the Vidal. And after they voted, I told them I'd switch the Riesling and the Vidal. That Vidal was much more popular. Vidal ice wine when you make it, it smells delicious and fruity and tropical fruit. Riesling, I find, takes a couple of years to get there. So if you're drinking them young, the Riesling or the Vidal is a stunner, and I get the same smells off of the Triumph White.
I mean, beautiful introduction. And I mean, among the Triumph, I have a very soft spot for the Chardonnay. I mean, I rated that Chardonnay 92 plus points for the $26. It's an incredible value. Incredible value. I tasted the Laundry Vineyard, the single vineyard, but the Triumph for me, for the value that I get in return, is absolutely fantastic.
I would agree. And when it's released, we're at some point in the not too distant future, we'll get to the 21. But it's
Bill, we are lucky enough because I have contacted the winery. I know your son. I've been back and forth with you. So we got the pre-release here with us.
Absolutely.
So,
and to me, that extra, because it's a little lighter than the single vineyards, to me, it always appears like it's a year older. And so it's getting a little more mature. It's still not mature, but more so than the 21 single vineyards. And so given a choice, I had for Thanksgiving. Now it was an older bottle, but we had Triumph Chardonnay for Thanksgiving dinner. I just love it.
I just love it. It's just such the picture for a $26 wine. I mean, you get your money back in couple sips. It's so, I mean, and the versatility, there's everything in that wine. I was absolutely in love with that 21.
Don't tell anybody, and certainly not because we've got a whole bunch of different wines here. I think that Chardonnay is Ontario and possibly Canada's best grape variety. It's always been something that we sing with.
You and Carl.
I've been pounding the table for years saying that we are one of the best, if not the best Chardonnay producer in the world. And people look at me and say, Carl, are you aware that there's a place in France called Burgundy where it's the motherland of Chardonnay? And my answer is always, I do know, but pound for pound, value-wise, our Chardonnay, most of the time, are better because we can't buy Burgundy and Chardonnay anymore without having to mortgage the house.
Right. Well, and
that's
worse yet, you mortgage the house, but then it's a crapshoot whether it's any good.
That's it. I mean, yeah, of course, Montrachet are good. Absolutely. Of course, some of the Grand Cru Chablis are wonderful. Of course. I can't buy a Montrachet under $275 anymore.
Exactly.
I mean, even Pouilly Crusé now, you can get a Pouilly Crusé under $40. I mean, so yeah, we're speaking the same language here. I'm with you. Canada's best grape from an ocean to another, it's Chardonnay. No doubt in my mind.
We haven't quite got it to the third ocean yet, but we should be. With climate change, we might be working on it.
One day we're gonna get up north as well. That's for sure. So that's really for me in the whole lineup. This
was really our intro to Southbrook was the Chardonnay Day. So this was the end of May, right, Carl? And so
absolutely.
This is an old graphic. This was like a week before. We had no idea what was about to happen. We said 60 plus shards. It was 112 Canadian Chardonnays that we had open all at once. Here we go. And Carl went live for over 7 hours, tasting every single one.
I watched some of it. I wish I'd sent you the graphic of 22 Ontario winemakers standing on the steps of Canada House back in 2010, having just finished being visited by Jancis and Oz Clark and Stephen Spurrier and everybody had come specifically to look at Chardonnay. And the great thing, because you guys are from BC, the great thing about that is I thought maybe 15 people were going to come. I found 25 pairs of do you remember the Hudson's Bay Olympic mittens?
Yeah.
If you look at the picture, everybody who's there, and there was over 40 people total, everybody who's there is holding up a bottle of their Chardonnay and waving with one hand, because I didn't have a pair of mittens for everybody. So everybody had one mitten and the bottle in the other. So half of them were like this, and half of them were like this.
Oh, that is too
It was
good.
so much fun. It was so much fun.
Wow.
That is too good. Also in that pack, we have the Riesling. So Bill, Riesling wise, do you guys grow Riesling on the property, or is it all, but I think you have a partnership with some growers, or
Yeah,
what's the deal with you?
So most of the Riesling is from Heather Laundrie's property.
That's what I thought.
This vintage. And again, what we've done is we've split it. We made some that was a little more intense into single vineyard laundry. Some we thought was a little bit lighter, and it's become the Triumph Riesling. I personally, I think where we are is too warm for Riesling. And we're at this point, we're not growing any Pinot or Gamay either. Those are coming from other organic growers as well.
Yeah, that's that helps here. So, like, moving on to the lineup, I want to stop. I want to go straight to the Cabernet, to the Cab Sauv.
No,
because
I want to interrupt, and I'm going to throw something in that you didn't choose. And I'm not sure whether you didn't try it. This is the Triumph Orange, skin fermented white wine. We started making orange. Our first vintage was 2014. This is the Triumph, so it's not the estate. It's organic but not biodynamic. It's 2/3 Chardonnay Muscat, 1/3 Vidal. We keep calling it orange wine, and it really does smell like tangerine. It smells like a white wine, tastes like a red wine. It's a really interesting wine, and I think we're the leader in Canada, and certainly one of the leaders in North America as far as skin fermented white wines are concerned.
Where's your passion for orange wine comes from? Is there something that you have developed over the, well, how's that? Like, tell me a little bit more, because I know when we visited you, the first step on our tasting, we started and we got through 3 orange wine all right out of the gate. So where's your passion for comes from?
So when we first started to see skin fermented white wines, orange wines, amber, whatever you want to call them, back in the late 2000s, there was a real conflation of orange, organic, natural, whatever. And so we were trying them and found them really interesting, but also we thought that if we don't jump on it, who is going to, and what story are they going to tell? So we experimented in 2012, 2013. First commercial vintage was 2014. We made 50 cases of it. It's cloudy. And the reason it's cloudy is the lees, and I don't mean just a little bit of cloudy, it's really cloudy. The lees allow us not to have to add sulfites. The lees are an antioxidant, just like sulfites are with organic wines. We don't add sulfites before fermentation. It has to be added after fermentation. And the levels that we're allowed to use are really low. So all of our organic wines are low in sulfites, but the cloudy ones, the orange ones, the cider, are no sulfites added at all.
Wow.
And it's become a subgroup. There's a whole collection of people that don't want to drink what their parents drank. If you handed your parents a hazy IPA or a sour beer or whatever, the person who's raised on Molson's and Labatt's, they would think it's terrible, but it's a separate form of connoisseurship and interest and whatever, the craft beer movement. The orange wine in some ways is a real parallel.
And you guys have been going to the raw tasting for years and years now, right?
We're going again in November, just in Toronto this year. But if anybody's really interested in natural wines, skin fermented white wines, the show is called RAW, Raw, in Toronto, in Montreal, in Brooklyn, in San Francisco, I think, and of course all over Europe, Paris, London, whatever. And it's a great way to go. In Toronto, there'll likely be 100 producers, 400 or 500 wines. Montreal, maybe 50% more, because the SAQ is way more in favor of orange wines than the LCBO is. The SAQ really leads experimental, small producers, low sulfites, organics, and biodynamics. So, but yeah, raw is a great way to really learn about that, and they're exciting. They're really interesting, and they're not the same as everything else.
Well, I mean, it fits the brand. It fits the purpose of Southbrook. These are low intervention, and what you guys are bringing to the table in terms of your philosophy and your contribution to making our wine business much cleaner. I mean, this is all part of the package. But I want to take you guys to the Triumph Cab Stove, because
you don't have to convince me.
Yeah, Bill. I mean, like, you're a Bordeaux guy, and I need to pick your brain here in the sense that I live in BC. We're located in the Okanagan Valley. A Cab Sauv under $30 is something that it barely doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
And with the Triumph at $29, including tax, to me, when I taste that, I to be honest, I didn't have expectation. I was thinking, in my mind, it's barely impossible to get something with ripeness, with sweet edges, with tannin, with mid palate. And I tasted it. I'm like, excuse my language. Are you fucking kidding me? Like I kept going to Mira. It's like, that doesn't make any sense.
So again, I go back to why we make Triumph. Triumph allows us to make the estate wines, the single vineyard wines, better, right? Because we take the slightly lighter vintage or wines out. In 2020, it was a wonderful year in Ontario. Almost everything we made went into single vineyard or estate wines. We made some Triumph, but not a lot, and certainly no Cabernet Sauvignon. All of the estate Cabernet Sauvignon went into Cabernet, into the estate. 2021 was a lighter year, not as good. It was different. It was lighter, and we tasted the barrels, and some of them, we said, if we made it all into estate wine, somebody who was used to the 2020 estate wine would be disappointed. And when you're working one-on-one with your customers, you're creating that relationship, and the last thing you want to do is to disappoint somebody. So we said, all right, what we'll do is we'll take, and in 2021, probably 80% of single vineyard Cabernet Sauvignon and declassify into Triumph. So the Triumph is actually, Triumph Cab Sauv is a wine, and there's a little secret behind it. It's the only, at this point, the only Triumph wine that's also biodynamic.
Huh.
All the other Triumphs, because we don't buy Cab Sauv from anybody else. We only do it off of the estate. And so the 2021 is there because we wanted something that's affordable, but we also wanted something that would allow us to make a better quality estate 2021. We made no Poetica 21 red. We couldn't put together a blend that we thought people coming off of the 2020 would be happy with. And we could make some estate Cab Sauv, but not 100% of it. So that's where the Cabernet Franc came from. And the last time we made one of these, estate Cab Sauv, as a Triumph wine, was I think 2012. And we were selling it to the LCBO. And then I got a phone call an email from Marks and Spencer's in England. Would we receive visitors? Sure, we're going to have a good lunch and we'll have a good time. So we shipped them, they came and they visited. They were in North America. They were looking at 4 wine regions, not California. They were visiting Washington, Oregon, Ontario, and Virginia. They liked our wines. We sent them samples, and of course, we never heard anything back from them. It always happens. And about 4 months later, I get an email from them apologizing. They said our stuff got tied up in customs, but they finally got it, and can they have 1,000 cases?
1,000 cases.
And I went to my winemaker, and I said, I'm proud. You know, I've just sold 1,000 cases to England. And she goes, no, turn them down. Why? She said, well, not only you really don't have 1,000 cases, you're getting, that would really run you out of the LCBO. But she said, they're offering to pay you shit. So I don't want to turn down the deal. So I sent them a note back and saying, yeah, I can supply it, but I need 3 times what you offered me. And they went, okay. So when they released this, they released these 4 wines in Marks and Spencer's during the summer. I was there for Christmas because my mother-in-law and my brother-in-law are in England. And I went to Marks and Spencer's, and they had this discovery series, 4 wines not from North America, not from California. And the other 3 were £7.99 each, and the Ontario was £15.99. So we were over twice the price of everybody else. And it had taken a long time to get on the market. And you know, it was almost a year from when we first sent them the samples. It went on sale, and within they only took 500 cases rather than 1,000. And 3 weeks or so into the sales, they came back and said, okay, we'll take the other 500 cases. And at that point, we had to say, sorry, we don't have 500 cases for you. So, but anyway.
That's a fun story. That's a fun story. You mentioned your winemaker a couple of times at that time, and and I think that we're talking Anne Sperling.
Sperling, of course.
So Anne has a big thumbprint in the progression of the winemaking culture at Southbrook. And
no, it's Anne was with us for 15 years, and where we are, you know, what we're doing now, you know, things have changed a little bit, but remember that Casey, our winemaker today, was Anne's protege. So without Anne, we would not be where we are today.
Well, that's where I was leading to. The Casey, which is he's a Brock U alumni. So guys from Ontario, Ottawa guy, and I mean under Anne's for many years, and now he's running the show for you. So yeah, really cool story there as well.
So I put the Cab Sauv into a big glass because it deserves to be in a big glass. I would agree with you. If you poured me this 20 years ago and said it was Ontario Cab Sauv, I would have not believed you.
Yeah.
We've come a long way. And we're not alone with it. But I think Southbrook is showing that what is possible, the quality, the attention to detail, and yeah, I'm really proud. Of all of the triumphs, it's one of the ones I'm most proud of. And then, of course, we love the estates and the single vineyards as well. And that's really what our focus is and should be. But with the single vineyards and the estates, it's not something we could offer to somebody like you, Carl, because we don't have the supply. That's the thing, right? And when we tried to introduce the Southbrook across the country, absolutely.
I mean, the perfect strategy is to go with the Triumph and to showcase the potential of where you can start. And if you can start with that quality of Cabernet Sauvignon at that price point, and again, in 2024, a Cab Sauv at under $30, including tax, I can't find that at that quality. So that really a stunner to me.
Yeah, I would agree with you, but it requires dedication. It's quality above all. Like I say, if it's not good, I don't care whether it's organic or sustainable or whatever. If it's undrinkable, who cares? It has to be good quality wine first.
There's 2 more wines that I want to talk about, Bill, because it's 6 o'clock. But we're talking about Heather Laundry and their reputation and like such an amazing grower, and their grapes are so sought after. Now I'm putting an outstanding vintage combined with Heather Laundry's incredible growing potential, and we put that into a Cabernet Franc, which is one of the golden child grape of Ontario, especially Niagara on the Lake. And boom, this is what we have. It's a 93 plus points, Carl's Wine Club. It's the 2020, Laundry Vineyard Cap Franc. I absolutely love that wine.
So, it's we've gotten away from the idea that Cabernet Franc should be excessively green, right?
No,
It almost was a, sorry, how?
no, I said no.
A little green is okay, but not too much. And it almost becomes a caricature of a grape variety when it's as green as sometimes. The yield has to be low, and the grapes have to hang. We're sitting here, and sadly it's dark because here it's not almost 9 o'clock, and everything is dark outside. But I'm looking out at the Cabernet Franc. We've not started to pick the Bordeaux Reds yet. We're probably a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks away from picking the estate, because I'd rather have less grapes of good quality. I don't want to sell green wine. I don't want to sell wine that's over yielded and people go, yeah, it's okay. That's not what it's all about.
Yeah, I mean, and what's special? Tell us a little bit. I know personally because I've been talking to Thomas Batchelder, to Anne Sperling, and to many accomplished winemaker. And every time the name Heather Laundry comes up, everyone's glowing, right? So, can you tell us a little bit about what makes her so special in her fruits?
So one of the things that I think is special is she's a winemaker. She has gone to school to take winemaking, and as much to learn what winemakers want. And I think that's a really interesting way to run a business. Is it's like a farmer should be a chef, so they know what they should grow, so the chefs are happy, I guess is the best way to put it. And Heather's that. And one of the reasons that I love organics is it says I'm not trying to make the most money. I'm not trying to get the highest yield. I'm trying to do a good quality product. And because you can't cut corners. You can't fix problems with organic grapes. You have to prevent them in the first place. And, low yields, low vigor, getting the grapes ripe. It doesn't scale, so you're not a huge producer producing 1,000 acres of grapes. It has to be small, hands-on. I figure that on the estate, we touch each of our vines by hand. Somebody touches each vine, minimum 12, more frequently 14, and in a tough year might be 17 or 18 times. And you can't scale that. You can't go, I'll just put another 100 acres in. It has to be kept small. There is a difference. There was a study came out a few years ago looking at 150,000 wine reviews from France, 3 different major publications in over a 25 or 30 year period. And they analyzed the marks, and they found that there was about a 5% increase in the average mark when you went from conventional to organic, and about another 6% when you went from organic to biodynamic. Now, is that cause and effect, or is it a correlation? I don't care. It makes a difference. Is it because it makes the wines better, or does it link with people that are doing the extra mile on a whole bunch of other things? It ends up that the wines, I think, are more lively, are more integral, they're better wines. And so, Heather's doing a great job because she's growing organically. We're doing the same thing. We're buying from a couple of other growers as well.
That's awesome. And I can't let you go before we talk about the flagship, before we talk about this wine, one of my highest rated wine this year at 94 plus points. This is Poetica. This is from the iconic 2020 vintage. I mean, this wine is an absolute bomb. I mean, the depth, the complexity, the the structure, which is very important, especially in big vintage like that. I mean, everything you want to cellar, to put that with big boys down the road, you got that in the Portica 2020.
So right from day one, we were making wines to age, because that's the mark of a great wine, is whether a wine ages well. That's what I learned growing up when I was learning about Burgundy and Bordeaux, which was the only fine wine game in town. And that's what it's aimed at. We started making the equivalent, our top red. 91 was our first year as a winery. And for the hell of it, my first son, Andrew, that you've met, was born in 91. So we put a couple of cases away for his birthday. And he's a somm, so he's still drinking it. He hasn't had a Magnum. His was a dozen Magnums. He said he hasn't had it in a year or so, but we had it just before COVID, along with my other son's birth year, which was 94. And they're still fabulous. They're still delicious. Our club, we have a wine club, and we have a pickup party in September. We opened a bunch of 97s and 98s and 2000s. Just, we get to show off to our the people that love us, and they were fabulous.
Look at that.
The 2002 Poetica Merlot, Cab Merlot, was an interesting wine, because there was a wine guy, he loved wine. He worked for the LCBO. It's a long story. Called Larry Patterson, and he said, I think Ontario wines are as good as anything else. And so we put together a tasting, Ontario versus Bordeaux. Ontario won. The French cried foul. They said, oh, this. So we did it again, and they won again. And so he did it a third time, 35 wines, including a couple of first growths, Margaux and Mouton, I think, a bunch of second and thirds. And the French did really well. They placed second and third. The Poetica 2002 won it.
That is an incredible story. That's an incredible story.
Of the price or less, right?
Yeah. Well, at that point, it was, I think, $50, and we offered some to the LCBO. We offered some to licensees, and we put some away for our move down to Niagara. And the licensees said, well, how much did it go up in price? And we said, I can make an extra $20 a bottle and just piss you the hell off. And so we left it. Because it's about creating relationships. Everything should be a long-lasting relationship. Wine lasts a long time. Relationships should last a long time. Yeah, this 2020 Poetica is...
It's a beauty.
This is a 15, 20 years cellar potential. I mean, this wine will last, will age, will improve. And I mean, I can't wait to see that in 10 years where it's at. But what's the story of the poem on it?
So we've wanted to show, there's a lot of people that do a picture on a label, a piece of art and whatever. And when we started, we wanted to say art can be something other than a picture. It can be architecture. It can be winemaking. It can be graphics. It can be poetry. So the Poetica every year, and Poetica is always a state, so it could be Chardonnay. It could be Bordeaux Red, or it could be sparkling. This year we released our first sparkling. And it has a piece of Canadian love poetry on the label. And it's to make you think. And they repeat every 10 years or so, but they're just different. And it's to make you think as you're drinking a glass of wine and have wonderful romantic feelings.
That's an amazing story, Bill. I mean, it's past 9 o'clock your time. And believe it or not, our oldest son is graduating this year, and it's his grad photo tonight. So Mira has to take him out to go take the photos with the gowns and the hats and the whole thing. So Mira has to go. So we'll let you go, Bill. I want to say thank you. Thank you very much.
Not as much as I say thank you to you. Like I said at the beginning, what you guys have done to support the Canadian wine industry is amazing. You've turned on a whole bunch of people, and a lot of it is cross-pollination. You're giving people in Ontario access to BC wines and vice versa. We're one country, right? And we should be supporting each other. It's enough of sniping back and forth. I'm tired of sniping. So many of the things that are happening in the world today, not only in Canada, but in the States and everywhere else, we could solve by sitting down with a glass of good wine.
Yes.
Talking.
You're so right. And I mean, we're taking a bunch of people from all over the country back to Niagara in June 2025 for the Pan Canadian 3.0, already the third edition of that wonderful cross-country wine tasting with 12 wines from all sub-regions, from many sub-regions. We're going to be for 3.5 days doing event all over Niagara. Bill, I think we should talk because we would love to bring our group to Southbrook.
We would love to see you, because these are, what happens is you've turned a whole bunch of people on to Canadian wine, but these are the guys that have a wonderful time. Then they go home and they turn their friends on to Canadian wine. You know, it's. Do you remember no, you're too young. The old L'Oreal commercial. I told 2 friends, and I told 2 friends, and I told 2 friends, and very soon, you know, we're going to have problems making enough wine to keep everybody happy, and that will keep every winery happy.
There you go.
When they all get to hang up a little sold out sign in I don't know, December.
That's the way it should be. I mean, yeah.
With the Canadian mittens, like with the mitts and with the bottle of Chardonnay.
That event was so much fun because it was the first time a lot of these guys had really worked together, and it was all about working together. And it's a long story, but we each ended up with sitting at a table, private table, for 15 minutes with the Queen. And I don't mean the one that lives in Buckingham Palace, but we all had a 15-minute audience with Jancis Robinson, private audience, sitting, talking about our philosophy, what we were doing, and it was just phenomenal. It was just.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that with us. I mean, this is Southbrook Week. We have 10 wines from Southbrook available here. So check it out. The tasting notes are here. We have wine from 90 plus points all the way to 94 plus. We have an incredible lineup here. Free shipping for 150 or more. And I mean, we have, there's so much to offer in that offer. Bill, thanks a million. You have a great evening, and we'll chat.
We didn't even get to chat about the framboise.
I was just going to say this. Okay, in a nutshell, there's a cool story. I mean, this is the only fruit wine you make, right?
We do some cassis as well. But we started that 1992 in Ontario. It rained 17 weekends in a row. Nobody would come out and pick raspberries in our 12-acre patch. So we picked them all ourselves, ended up with 3.5 tons of raspberries, and went, what in God's name are we going to do with them?
That's a lot of jam.
Well, it was too much for jam. I love fortified wines. I love port, well, I love Madeira, but I love port. And so we said, we have no idea what we're doing, but we are going to make vintage port using raspberries instead of grapes. And that's what that is. Between that and the cassis, it was entered in 14 competitions around the world. And in every case, it won either the top Canadian wine in the competition, London International Wine Challenge, Vinexpo, in New Zealand, biggest fruit wine competition in the world. We entered it, and then I got a phone call the next year from the organizer, and she said, "You didn't enter this year." And I said, "Last year you had 750 fruit wines from around the world." She went, "Yeah." I said, "We took first and third." "Yeah." I said, "Why do you think I would ever enter that competition again? Because all I can do is go first and second, or I could do worse." So yeah,
I'm fine. I mean,
it's like sitting in a raspberry patch in July.
It's phenomenal. I had to open it again because it's such an incredible nose. Oh my gosh!
Pour it over ice cream.
And the beauty is, I mean, I love it. The beauty is, this I think is about $20 including tax.
Yeah.
Which
something like.
It's
Something-
super
Yeah, 22 Mira. I think the problem was is the the Whimsy Madeira is 19, that is 85 or something like that. But yeah, which is my favorite on my side. I love the Madeira style. I think there's a fantastic complexity. It's another dimension of Chardonnay, and this is incredible.
And do you know where we make it? In the barrels behind me. Those are all
Huh.
full of anniversary. Because
Average
the
of
temperature
6
doesn't
years
matter.
average in barrel, I guess.
Well, every 5 or 6 years, we remove about 25%. So
Yeah.
there's still a fair bit of 1996 sitting in those barrels as well.
Oh
Which is
my
why
God.
they're not organic. The whole system predates organics.
I mean, fantastic. Thank you, Bill. And we'll talk later this week and early next week. We'll send you all the orders from across the country,
Wonderful.
and we need to talk about the potential collaboration for the Pan Canadian next year.
And if you're in Ontario, come and see us. It's always fun. It's a great time of year, and in fact, it's always a great time of year to visit wine country.
Well, maybe you can take our people in the vineyard and get some help harvesting, right? Like put them to
that
work.
would be Thank you very much, guys.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
your
Thank
time.
you.
That's super fun. Wow. What a story and what a great person to meet. I mean, we're so privileged that we get to hear these stories firsthand like this. It's not, just a label on a shelf for us here out in Canada.
I mean, you remember we had a tough week, and like after this kind of interview, after this kind of connections, I mean, I feel like $1 million. I feel like nothing can stop us.
As much this time, but I remember last time, even though our meeting with him at the winery was somewhat brief, he had so much philosophy about wine and what kind of wine to drink, with what kind of conversations and things like that. So I love what he said this time, which is that just like relationships, wines are meant to be over the long term. And I often think about that. That's why they say like wine is all about relationships. Well, it is. Like you walk through a cellar that you've been collecting wine for some time, and what comes to mind are the relationships that brought you those bottles, right? Like, oh,
absolutely.
We had, at a certain event, or this is so and so gave me this wine because of this occasion, and this one we're saving for this other occasion, right? And so it's all about relationships. It's beautiful.
All about relationship, and I feel so good right now. So this is what it is. It's Southbrook week, and we have incredible free shipping for $158 for 6 bottles of Triomphe. It's a bottle of white blend, a Riesling, Chardonnay, which is outstanding. There's also Cap Sauv Gamay, and the other red is Merlot. So yeah, that's the Triumph lineup, but also in our bonus pick, there's a flagship Boudica, there's the single vineyard Laundry Cap Franc, which is incredibly good. Estate Merlot 2019 as well, which is a library release. There's like 4 wines in there. They're not available anywhere. So yeah, take a look. I mean, this is a pretty cool feature here.
Amazing. All right. Well, I want to briefly say that for another week and a bit or so, there is an early bird of all early birds for those that are interested in joining us at the Pan Canadian next summer, June 21st. I know some of the people that stopped by tonight already have their all access pass, which is so cool. So what we decided to do this year, because the last couple of years, of course, everyone that came out for the main event, the Pan Canadian, where we're tasting 12, it ended up being 13, 14 wines from across Canada with winemakers. Then we're like, well, now we're here. So now let's eat dinner together. Let's go out to wineries together. Let's do all these other things together. So this year we've created an all access pass. So you can come in on the Thursday night to the welcome reception and hang out with us and with winemakers from across the country all the way till Sunday afternoon. vineyard tailgating, visiting wineries, lunches, dinners, lots of great things. So that all access
Yeah.
pass is on
There's a
early
big
bird.
saving. There's a big saving on the all access pass. I mean, this is going to be a wine weekend for the ages. That's the first time that we do that all access pass. We're gonna start with the epic welcome reception. I won't spill the beads, but I'll tell you that our friend Marcel Morgenstern and I already have some big idea for the welcome receptions. So just saying this, and I mean a tailgating at a vineyard day, the main event, and also the a winery touring day, and we're going to involve and include lots of winemakers from all over the country. So join us, come and spend 4 days with us in Niagara. You will visit Niagara wine country like no one else. I'll tell you, we're going to take you to some rabbit hole that yeah, that's going to be pretty epic. I'm looking forward to it. The planning is already well on the way.
I forgot to say, and we're going to need to get a picture of this to, it's easier to understand with pictures. But of course, the design hasn't been decided yet. But the all access pass, what's cool about it is you can get it with a phenomenal deal on early bird right now till October 25th. But also it comes with a swag bag. So as our sponsors are coming on board, that swag bag will get more and more full for you, at least $100 of value in that swag bag. And we'll also include a limited edition shirt, kind of like what Marcel got us started on last Christmas when he sent us a shirt with us.
No, that's the Thomas one. This one is the Thomas.
And this is the one we did for Thomas because we went vineyard touring. But I'm just giving you an idea, something like this, right? So the official, pan-Canadian tour shirt or something, kind of like a rock shirt. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. That's part of it. And now, that thing is just growing and growing. And so that's the fun part.
Two more fun pieces of news, and we'll let you guys go, which is filming is getting underway for our first ever TV series. We're starting with 8 micro regions in the Okanagan, and that's going to be aired to over 1 million people on the TELUS network next fall, so a whole year from now. And in January, it has not been officially announced yet, but we're 95% sure that we're going to be speaking at something called Free the Grapes, which is a conference held every year in the States.
It's in Monterey, California. And this is one of the biggest wine conference that happen in the world. So this is really, really,
and what they do, it's pretty cool. We're going to take notes, bring them back to Canada, but they've been doing this for about 15 years. All the proceeds from that conference help to lobby the government to free up the legislation because they have 50 something states with different rules about wine in the States. We have our provinces. So everyone's got these issues where we got to figure out how do we let consumers directly access these wines from the wineries. So we're going to take notes and see what we can learn for us up here.
Mira, there was 100 application and they were choosing only 12 speaker and boom.
50 and 12 workshops. So we're really honored that they're working with us on this, and we'll be able to meet some American winery counterparts down there. So yeah, great to see y'all. And Daryl, glad you got your Southbrook order in.
There you go. There you go. Just do like Daryl. It's really worth it. Oh man, this is a great deal. The Triomphe wines punches way, way, way above their price point. Absolutely.
I didn't see Daryl's order yet, Daryl, but this framboise with your wife's Madelaine's, the desserts or the macaroons, holy smokes. I had to just give it another sniff because it's just raspberry heaven. Anyway, we will chat with you guys again soon. Hope you have a great Wine Wednesday, and thank you so much for stopping by.
And Canadian wine lovers, Carl's Wine Club members, we'll see you next time.
Cheers.